What do you think of when you imagine the United States Navy? Perhaps you think about large battleships like the USS Gerald R. Ford or the USS Nimitz. Maybe you think of the Navy SEALs, elite soldiers who can take down hostile threats in mere seconds. Whatever your thoughts may be, the Navy is undoubtedly one of the most powerful forces the US has to offer. But did you know that the Navy also has a space division? This division is responsible for taking care of the country's naval bases in outer space, and it recently completed an incredible mission. The US Navy recovered a 24-ton spacecraft that had fallen from the sky, and they did it with nothing but a fishing boat and some cranes. Today, we'll look at how the Navy was able to recover the rocket and what this means for space exploration. So stay tuned till the end. It all started on January when a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Its mission was to deliver a batch of Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. But shortly after liftoff, something went wrong. One of the 9 Merlin engines powering the Falcon 9's first stage failed to light, causing an anomaly during the boost back burn. Instead of returning to Earth safely, the rocket began to fall. It tumbled through the atmosphere at an estimated speed of 16,000 miles per hour. Luckily, the rocket didn't have any satellites on board at the time, so there was no risk of damaging property on the ground. But SpaceX needed to recover the rocket as soon as possible. If left unchecked, it could have fallen into the ocean and caused untold damage. That's where the Navy came in. The Navy deployed a recovery ship to intercept the rocket before it hit the water. The ship was equipped with a crane capable of lifting heavy objects out of the water, but it wasn't sure exactly where the rocket would land. The rocket was tumbling as it fell, making its path unpredictable. Once it entered the water, the Navy ship would have to move quickly to intercept it before it sank. Meanwhile, SpaceX was working around the clock to determine what caused the engine to fail. They analyzed telemetry data from the rocket in an attempt to figure out what went wrong. Was it a problem with the engine itself, or was it something else? As they worked on the problem, they knew that time was of the essence. The longer the rocket remained in the ocean, the more likely it was to be lost forever. Once the rocket was located, the recovery ship positioned itself and began the process of pulling it out of the water, but this was easier said than done. The rocket was extremely heavy and it was unclear how deep it had sunk. The crane operator had to be careful not to damage the rocket while retrieving it. As the Navy ship closed in on the rocket, hopes began to rise that the mission would be successful. After hours of searching, they finally spotted it in the water, looking like a giant metal tube with its fairings ripped off. With renewed energy, the crew worked quickly to secure the rocket and bring it aboard the ship. The crane operator maneuvered the rocket out of the water and onto the deck of the recovery ship. It was a tense moment as the rocket was lifted out of the water. Everyone on board the ship held their breath, hoping that it would be recovered without incident. Finally, the rocket was secured on the ship. The crew erupted in cheers, celebrating their hard-earned victory. The Navy had successfully recovered the SpaceX rocket. But this was only the beginning. Once the rocket was brought back to shore, SpaceX engineers began to examine it closely to determine the cause of the accident. Their goal was to find the problem and fix it as soon as possible so that future launches would not be affected. After a thorough investigation, SpaceX discovered that the rocket's booster had experienced a malfunction in one of its 9 Merlin engines. This had caused the rocket to lose altitude and eventually begin its descent back to Earth. Fortunately, the rocket had been equipped with a self-destruct mechanism that prevented it from causing any damage as it fell. Still, it was a close call, and SpaceX engineers worked quickly to make sure it wouldn't happen again. The rocket's booster is responsible for propelling it off the ground and into space. Without it, the rocket wouldn't be able to reach its destination. In this case, the booster had malfunctioned due to a problem with one of the Merlin engines. These engines are incredibly complex machines that burn fuel and oxidizer to produce thrust. When one of these engines fails, it can throw off the entire rocket's balance and cause it to veer off course. In order to prevent this from happening, SpaceX engineers work tirelessly to ensure that every engine is functioning properly before launch. They run tests and simulations to identify any potential problems and develop solutions to fix them. In the case of the Falcon 9, the engineers were able to identify the faulty engine and replace it with a new one. This allowed the rocket to be reused for future launches without any issues. SpaceX has come a long way since it was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk. The company's mission is to make life multiplanetary, and it's on track to achieve that goal. With the help of the US Navy, SpaceX was able to recover a rocket that had fallen from the sky. This was a remarkable feat of engineering and teamwork. The Navy's willingness to help SpaceX in this time of need was a testament to the strong relationship between the two organizations. In the past, the Navy had helped SpaceX recover other rockets that had gone off course. For example, in 2016, the Navy helped SpaceX recover a Falcon 9 rocket that had landed in the ocean after delivering supplies to the International Space Station. In addition to providing assistance with rocket recovery, the Navy also provides range support for SpaceX launches. This includes providing airspace and sea space for SpaceX to conduct its launches and landings. The Navy also provides tracking and data services to SpaceX, which helps the company monitor its rockets and spacecraft. In addition to working with SpaceX, the Navy also has its own space program. The Navy's space program is responsible for providing space-based capabilities to the Navy and other military branches. The program operates satellites that provide communication, navigation and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities. The Navy's space program also works closely with NASA and other civilian space agencies. For example, the Navy participates in the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Joint Polar Satellite System, which provides weather and climate data. The Navy also works with NASA on the ionospheric research on the E-region by using Students Program, which studies the Earth's ionosphere. Overall, the Navy plays an important role in the nation's space program. From providing range support to operating its own satellites, the Navy makes significant contributions to the nation's space capabilities. If you ask me, I believe that the Navy is more than capable of handling any space-related task. Their ability to recover a rocket from the sky is just one example of their skill and precision. With the right equipment and training, I have no doubt that the Navy could even retrieve objects from beyond our planet. Imagine a team of Navy SEALs venturing out into the vast expanse of space to recover a lost satellite or even an asteroid. It might sound far-fetched, but with the Navy's track record, anything is possible. The Navy's success in recovering the SpaceX rocket is a testament to their skill and precision. The operation required a high level of expertise and coordination, and the Navy executed it flawlessly. The rocket was recovered without any damage, which is a remarkable feat considering its size and weight. It's safe to say that the Navy is more than capable of handling any space-related task. The operation to recover the SpaceX rocket was not only a success for the Navy, but also for SpaceX and the commercial space industry as a whole. The rocket will be able to fly again, thanks to the Navy's efforts, and that's a win-win for everyone involved. This operation was made even more impressive by the fact that it was carried out in a relatively short amount of time. The Navy recovered the rocket within hours of it entering the water. This kind of speed is crucial in situations like this, as it prevents the object from being lost forever. Another impressive aspect of this operation was the level of precision required to recover the rocket. The Navy had to locate the rocket in the vast expanse of the ocean, and they did so with pinpoint accuracy. They then had to lift the rocket out of the water without causing any damage, and they accomplished that with flying colors. The recovery of the SpaceX rocket is a shining example of what can be achieved when different organizations work together toward a common goal. The Navy and SpaceX are two very different organizations with different missions and priorities. However, they were able to put aside their differences and work together to achieve a successful outcome. In conclusion, the U.S. Navy's recent recovery of a 24-ton spacecraft that fell from the sky is an incredible feat that showcases the Navy's skill, precision, and adaptability. The Navy is more than capable of handling any space-related task, and this operation is a testament to that. Whether it's recovering a rocket from the ocean or defending the country from airborne threats, the Navy is always ready to answer the call. Thank you for watching.